My trailer is just barely holding on, and now it's no longer holding on. Thankfully, the car is still good to go. So how good is this car actually? Find out in this video. Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod called the ETK 1300 series. And with this vehicle, we have 7 options available to us, but we're going to start with the 1354T, which is the basest version of the vehicle there is. And when I look at this vehicle, it really does look like, what if you took the 800 series and changed it from a wagon to an SUV? Although there is one thing that's kind of funny about the interior. You'd expect it to look like the 800 series, but in fact, it's almost identical to the K series. So to give you a comparison point, let me go ahead and spawn up just any old K series. It doesn't matter which one it is. And then we'll hop into the inside, try to make the camera angle as close as we possibly can to the 1300. Really take a good look at this. Then we swap over to the 1300, and you see the overall design is almost identical with just a few small differences here and there. The most noticeable of which is the dashboard. To compare them, we're going to center the cameras. So on this one, you see it's very sloped down because this is a sports car. And this, it's an SUV, so it's a little less sloped down. It's a little bigger and bulkier, which makes a lot of sense. And another thing I like about the interior on this guy is if we look in the back, there are buttons for the people sitting in the rear of the vehicle. Those are not present on the 800 series. And those are just here in the 1300. And since this is an SUV, we're going to do SUV things like doing light off-roading. But we shouldn't do anything too crazy just yet, because with this version of the vehicle, it's just rear-wheel drive with an inline-4 engine that makes an acceptable 180 horsepower. As for the handling characteristics, there are 2 possible vehicles we can compare it to: the ETK 800 or the Gravel Roamer. Between those 2 options, it handles a lot more like an ETK 800 than the Roamer, which means it has driving characteristics more similar to a wagon than a true body-on-frame SUV. So that's enough analysis. It's been 2 minutes and we haven't even crashed yet. So here is a crash, and ooh, that's kind of interesting. We're a little bit stuck on this tunnel, and it's kind of an awkward angle to really look at the damage. So let's go ahead and save it, then reset it, and then reload the damage so we can get a proper look at it. And for some reason, that turns the car around in the wrong direction. Anyways, looking at the damage overall, everything seems pretty reasonable. I don't see anything exceptional that I want to point out. So I'll reset it so it's pointed in the right direction. And we're going to take a look at the next configuration, which is the 1354TC. And this is the same one as we were just driving, but it has additional comfort. What does that even mean? Well, most importantly, it means it gets all-wheel drive, but then it also gets some improvements to the suspension as well. And again, since this is an SUV, we gotta do SUV off-roady things like that, and maybe cut this corner real steep, see if it can do it. The impressive thing isn't the fact that the SUV made it. The impressive thing is that the bumper is still attached somehow. I almost tore it completely off in like 5 seconds flat, but we have half a stick of gum or so just barely holding it on. What if we go over these rocks? Will that make it fall off? Oh, somehow that bumper is just impressing me. There's still one thing we can do to try to make the bumper fall off. And it's a very simple solution that you all probably see coming. We can crash the car at high speed. That will probably make the bumper fall off. So I'm going to try to find a rock or something in the grass. There we go. We're popped in the air. The bumper is gone. But the vehicle should still drive if we land on our wheels, which we have. All right, it feels like it's all right. So let's get it out of the trees, back onto the road. And before we continue along, how about a quick look at the damage to the vehicle? And basically, we have a dozen small bumps all over the place, but nothing major, so it still drives pretty decently, right? Yeah, it still drives fine. It ain't perfect, that's for sure, but it's all right. It's enough to get up to highway speeds once again and find another thing to crash it into. We can even keep accelerating on a big swoopy corner like this, getting almost to 80 miles per hour before we find something to crash into. Here's some trees. Trees are great things to smash cars into, and that is going to destroy the vehicle because the engine is broken. I'll go ahead and pull it out of the shadows of the trees though so we can see it a little bit better. Hopefully we don't cause too much damage trying to do this. That wasn't too bad. Left side of the vehicle is pretty much untouched. Rear, it has some bumps, and then of course the spot that has the damage is the right side of the vehicle. And then some of that damage is also present in the front engine bay as well. Overall, though, the quality of the damage looks solid. So let's go ahead and bring this car back onto the road. And then we're going to swap it out for the next configuration, which is the 1354TD. TD stands for touchdown. Actually, it really stands for touring diesel. The engine configuration and size is pretty much the same, but on this one, it makes 160 horsepower, which is about 20 horsepower less, but it makes 260 foot-pounds of torque, which is about 40 foot-pounds more. And here's a really good place to test some actual off-roading, bouncing through the mud, and it's doing a pretty decent job. Honestly, when I look at this vehicle, I don't expect it to do very well in off-road setups like this, but it's impressing me. And this is definitely on the list of cars that is available in Europe, but not in America. SUVs with diesel engines, pretty rare in the USA compared to a lot of the European countries. And you can even see this by the fact that it has European license plates on it instead of American ones. Uh-oh. And this is what happens when you try to just drive an SUV like this up a big old pile of sand. It ain't exactly gonna work out. Come on, no, not quite. Here's the easy solution. We actually look at the pile of sand, and I'm sure it can traverse it if we take an easier route. The only version of the vehicle that might struggle with this is the base version, since it is rear-wheel drive with open differentials. But there we go. We have climbed the small little sand mountain. Now, we're going to try to get our way back to the mud roads, and then hopefully the paved roads after that, so we can get up to a decent speed and do some crashing. But we're crashing right now. We're rolling and rolling and rolling. Is it going to land on its wheels? Yes, it will. And after all that rolling, there ain't that much damage. Yeah, there are some small dents on the roof and we lost the front bumper, but it's driving fine. At least it should be. It's kind of hard to tell when you're driving through the sand. And this doesn't look too steep. You can do this, right, SUV? Oh, easy. Step one of get to a dirt road is complete. And the dirt roads here aren't very difficult, so any version of the SUV could drive on these no problem, unless of course you're all over the place and in the side of the road half of the time, because that's where things can get a little bit sketchy. I'm trying to just poke it in every now and then. The problem is sometimes there'll be a rock that's just sitting there, and you'll hit the rock and it explodes your vehicle, but hey, there's the paved road, and here we go, just plowing right off of the road again. I swear to you guys though, that corner came out of absolutely nowhere. It's not my fault. Alright, anyways, we're going to get up to speed and do one final crash. So 50 miles per hour, that's decent enough speed. There's a wall, boom. There's a crash, engine broken, drive shaft broken. Both drive shafts are broken actually, so this car is done. I'll try to move it away from the wall so you can get a better look at the damage, and in the process, open up the hood so you can see how the engine looks. Engine looks pretty crushed. Everything about the front looks pretty crushed, just as you'd expect, and then everything else doesn't look too bad at all. Alright, for the next test, we're going to go ahead and change up maps, so let's head over to West Coast, USA. And we're going to skip around the configurations a little bit, so we're going to go take a look at the 1356TD. Now, this is the 6-cylinder diesel version of the vehicle. And one cool thing about all the 6-cylinder versions is they have the air suspension, which you can raise and lower. So here I am lowering it, and that is as low as it can go. And now we can go ahead and raise it, and that is as high as it can go. And at its max height, it's about the same as the SUVs we were driving earlier, so with the air ride suspension, all it really does is lower the vehicle's overall height. Now just for fun, we're going to try to tow a trailer with this vehicle because the statistics on this thing sound perfect for doing that. It has about 420 foot-pounds of torque and only 250 horsepower. That sounds like a trailer pulling engine. And to make things more interesting, we're going to tow the vehicle through some traffic. This is what SUVs were designed for, taking your family and going camping. Of course, normally when you take your family camping, you're not going to be flying through the middle of a town at over 60 miles per hour, but yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. Because I'm the kind of person who says, I paid for 430 foot-pounds of torque, I'm going to use every single one of them to tow this trailer. Oh, we're done. Pfft, no way. There was nothing I could have done. I was flying in the air, and by the time I landed, I was already crashed into them, basically. And we can't even back out of them. We're actually stuck, so we'll just go ahead and take a look at the damage, and then we reset the car back up here and go for another drive. This time we'll go to the right, so I have a little bit of a different terrain to take a look at. And hopefully we don't have any blind corners that cause unexpected accidents. And all we have this time is the very expected accidents that I intentionally cause. Oh, can we get in front of this guy? Yeah, squeeze it. Oh, don't tip. Torque. Use the torque. It actually worked. I thought it was gonna tip over for sure. But we can't have the trailer tip over because that would ruin our family vacation. Oops, I just tore open a big fat gaping hole in the trailer. Well, family vacation's ruined, so nothing else matters. Well, I gotta wait for my opportunity to pass this guy because it's not quite wide enough for me to fit through with the trailer swerving all over the place. And there's a lot of traffic coming. You know what? I got an easy solution. We use the torque and we push him out of the way. Haha. Again, we're gonna use every single torque that I paid for. Burnside in the way? Not anymore. He is very slightly spun out. I just barely did anything to him. What we need to do is we need to slide the trailer into some traffic and blow it up, as long as this doesn't tip over here. All right, so we got control of the trailer, trying to slide into traffic, didn't quite get on that first car. How about this car? We're gonna really do the slide here. Big slide, big crash, trailer exploded. That was perfect. And there's the trailer still being pulled along somehow with just the bare frame left. That is great. But now it's time to change things up. Instead of using the diesel version, we're going to use the 6-cylinder gasoline version. So with this one, it has 244 horsepower, which is less than the diesel. And then it has 235 foot-pounds of torque, which was also less than the diesel. So really, in this specific situation, the diesel seems like it is the superior option. But there's only one way to figure out for sure, and that is to do some driving. And almost immediately, I am noticing how this engine does have less torque. It still has enough power to move the trailer around. It's just not as easy as we go up these steep hills. Thankfully, we are now done going up steep hills because we're at the highest point. So now we go down the hill. And here, it doesn't matter what we got because we will probably lose control the second we get popped into the air, which is right now. Can we keep it going straight? Nope, we're done. There goes the trailer exploding. And that was basically exactly what I expected to happen. I love how the trailer kept sliding. You know what? Let's do that one more time because that was pretty fun. And I'm already starting to lose control of the trailer just going up this hill at 20 miles per hour. If I crashed here, that would be embarrassing. That would be highly embarrassing even. Thankfully, we made it to the top and we're going to go down the exact same road because this road is perfect for this. So the question really is, when I lose control, am I going to crash into traffic or am I going to crash into one of the trees on the side of the road? We are going to find out shortly. I have lost control and I've crashed into kind of neither. Like I crashed into the curb a little bit, but the trailer is still holding together. And when you know a trailer is about to explode, you got to think in the back of your head, man, if I did that dumb thing where I had a random clip at the start of the video, I would be like, my trailer is just barely holding on and now it's no longer holding on. Thankfully, the car is still good to go. So how good is this car actually? Find out in this video. And the answer is, it's pretty good, but we do have some better configurations which we'll be taking a look at later. But right now, I gotta get this guy finished off. The steering is quite terrible, so let's use the cars in the traffic to go around the corners, and that worked much better than I expected. Why don't we try to do it again then? There's a Grand Marshal and just a little bit of help. That's all I need. Okay, this corner's too tight, so why don't you guys help me come to a stop? Well, I couldn't quite hit their cars because my steering was shot. So instead, we crashed into the barrier. So here's a look at the damage. And now it's time to take a look at one of those faster configurations. So this one is the 1356 TT Sport. Or maybe it's TT Sport. But I like saying it TT Sport because it shows I know all of the letters in the alphabet and how to read them. Yeah, I'm smarter than you thought. So with this version, we have an upgraded suspension that gets some better brakes and wheels. And then we also have an upgraded engine that gives us 334 horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque. That's still less torque than the diesel we were driving earlier, but the extra horsepower more than makes up for it and it feels much faster, but it doesn't feel like it's the kind of vehicle that you would want to tow a trailer with. This is the kind of vehicle you would want to drive around and have some fun with, which is really a strange thing to say about an SUV, but yeah, that's the case. I guess I finally understand why BMW makes an X5M. I always thought, oh, this is dumb to have an SUV with too much power. But if it can drive kind of like a wagon like this car does, yeah, it's actually not that bad of an idea, and I totally see the appeal of it. You just lower it a little bit and you basically have a wagon. Unfortunately, with this one, you can't lower it with the touch of a button because it has a sports suspension that doesn't have the airlift configuration. All right, here's a good place to crash it. Yep, up into the air. Oh, we gonna fall off? Whoa! We just did a backside 180 kickflip into a grind. Or something like that. I really don't know my skateboard terminology, but that was still really cool. All right, let's go to the final configuration, which is the 1356 TT SPORT Plus. Ooh. Well, you can still break the new vehicle spawning setup because we are stuck in the wall, but that's an easy fix to do. We just go here, reset it one more time, and we are on our wheels, ready to go. And with this one, we're gonna do a crash immediately. I see a car. Ooh, this is a perfect car to crash into because it's an 800 series. My competitor. So how do they compare? Well, there's the damage to the 800, and then there's the damage to the 1300. And the overall damage is pretty similar. The damage on the 1300 just looks like it's less because the hood is intact, and I think that's only because the vehicle is taller. All right, so now let's go ahead and actually do some driving with this vehicle because it does have some nice specifications to it. It has an upgraded suspension that really makes it feel sporty. And then we have a 485 horsepower engine with 450 foot-pounds of torque. So this is a very nice, fast vehicle. And yet, it's still an SUV. So you can drive swerving through traffic like I'm doing, no problem. But when the time comes and you need to do something that only an SUV can do, like for example, slam a car into a barrier, you can do that as well. Watch this. Goodbye, Grand Marshal. I'm doing SUV things. That's an SUV thing, right? See, I don't really know what SUVs are used for. I'm just assuming that's one of the reasons people buy SUVs. Another reason people buy SUVs is because they think they'll be safer in a collision, which really isn't true. But I have heard people say that's why they got the SUV, so obviously they want to crash the car too, which is exactly what I am doing now. Crashing into everybody who I possibly can, although my steering is a bit shot right now, and I'm trying to look at the damage, and doing that, we are just crashing more and more. Push that guy out of the way. Keep going, SUV. You're doing an excellent job. It's actually still moving at 60 miles per hour after those crashes. I did not expect that. Okay, no way it's going to drive after that, right? We just crashed that front end so many times. Yet, here we go. It's still going. Not as fast as before, mind you, but it is going. And up to 40 miles per hour, we could probably go highway speeds. Instead of that, though, let's try to go to the left. Ooh, that is a kill shot. All right, so here is what the car looks like after all of that very, very reckless driving. And now, to finish up the video, let's chuck this guy off of both Brutal Slope and Leap of Death. I swear to you, one day I'm going to make a modified version of Brutal Slope that spawns you back just a few hundred feet right here, because I always have to back up because this is the good spot to be. So anyways, for Brutal Slope, we're going to go with the fastest one, the 1356 TT SPORT Plus. Or is it SPORT PLUS? No, because it doesn't have a P in plus. Wait a minute. Just don't question what I said. In fact, don't even think about what I said because I'm just confusing myself here. The important thing is this car is going almost 200 miles per hour. It is going 200 miles per hour. It's going over 200 miles per hour, and the engine should pop at any moment. Pop! Pop! There it goes. It popped right before the impact, too. Here we go, about 250 miles per hour. Going to get the camera off of the car because I know this is going to be a big crash that'll glitch the camera out. And here we go. Impact. There goes the front half. There goes the back half. There goes everything. The whole car has crumbled. The impressive thing is, though, no glitchiness here. It looks like a pretty solid crumbling. Half the time when you do something like this, it'll blacken the sky with glitches. This one, very, very reasonable crumpling. And it just chose to prove, if you have an SUV, it is not safer than a wagon, because even if you drive an SUV, you can still end up having a vehicle that looks like that. Now, for the last map we're going to be going to, let's go to Leap of Death. And once again, we'll use the exact same configuration because you can't get better than that for jumping off a Leap of Death. It's the fastest one in a straight line, and that's truly all that matters in this situation. So how fast are we going to go? Well, actually, we're going pretty good speed, about 70 miles per hour. A very respectable speed, but this vehicle is designed for that after all. It has the ground clearance, it has four-wheel drive, it should do Leap of Death runs very, very well. Big impact, big slow motion right now. 100 times slow motion. Let's get a better camera angle before the impact. Look at how perfectly I paused that right before impact. So there's the better camera angle, and then there goes the front half of the vehicle, and then the rest of it falls into a hole and gets obliterated. It really stretched out the front, it looks like, but I think it's just the way the hood fell off. Alright, so speed it up and then let it go all the way to the bottom in full speed. After one impact, it has been completely destroyed, so there's really not much more to look at. Also, I should mention there are a couple of different interior colors. This one has a red interior, which you never really got to see. Maybe I'll give you a quick peek at that at the end of the video. But for now, we can't really look at the interior. I mean, like, yeah, look, it's red. It's like, okay, but does it have nice stitching? Does it look good? I don't know. It's smashed to bits. And into the water with a splash. Nice, gentle splash. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. Until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. And remember, if you like or dislike this video, I will know. I can tell by when I finally do research and figure out what SUVs are truly used for. So do the right thing, and I'll see you next time.